Hi everybody and welcome to our webinar. This is Pooja and I'm a part of CodeGround. So guys, for today what we have is a discussion on psychometric assessments and how this is a real boon to the modern recruiter. So in an age where every decision needs to be justified, backed up and informed by data, psychometric testing contributes a key element of science. This is relevant in an industry that's often relied on gut feel and synergy between the recruiter and the job seeker. In fact, more than over 75% of Fortune 500 companies utilize psychometric profiling in the recruitment processes. So what we have for you over here is a brief flow of the webinar. As we go on with our presentation, you can feel free to raise any query or type in your suggestions and input. You could also get in touch with us after the webinar and we'll be happy to cover anything that hasn't been talked about today. We expect the webinar to go on for about 40 minutes, so let's just get on to business. So everybody, before we really actually start, a quick question. Do you, as a recruiter, use psychometric testing while recruiting? If yes, great. We'll see how to optimize it based on your organizational needs. And if you really are not, well then, have you ever stopped to think why you use psychometric testing while recruiting? What we need of you guys to understand is that although the recruitment process has always relied heavily on CVs and job interviews, aptitude and personality tests have remained just as ever present among over 3/4 of employers. So in case you've been considering or you want to know more about psychometric testing, then we have compiled for you a simple guide to psychometric assessments and how it can have a positive impact on your hiring decisions. So very briefly, let me start off by giving you an introduction to what really is psychometric testing. Despite the whole sophisticated feel and psychometric testing is simply used to measure the potential behaviors of an individual. Okay, so it's actually a little more complex than saying whether someone will work well or not for your organization. But really, guys, it's not that far away from that as well. The word psychometric basically refers to the measurement of the mind. So unlike facets such as education, skill, experience, appearance, punctuality, etc., the behavioral traits and personality traits of a candidate can be much more difficult to assess during a traditional face-to-face conventional interviews. Employers today choose to use psychometric testing during their recruitment processes to help give a better overall evaluation of a candidate and hopefully secure the best fit for the role in that particular organization. So now what we'll do is we'll see some of the powerful insights to make better people decisions and how this affects an organization. Psychometric testing is a technology with more than 100 years history of progress and development. It helps with the innumerable people decisions that needs to be taken every single day. Decisions about the needs of the most suitable employees, about career, about staff training, etc. Most of these decisions are crucial to the individual involved and also extremely crucial to the organization concerned and even the society as a whole for that matter. So what this does is it measures a number of attributes including intelligence, critical reasoning, motivation, and personality profiles. So an interview process can be fairly subjective, and although employers will normally assess skills and experiences fairly accurately, much can still be left to the gut instinct when it comes to aligned values for that matter. Psychometric assessments aim to provide measurable, objective data that can provide a better, all-rounded view of a candidate's suitability. So, how did psychometrics evolve? So, although psychometrics is a modern tool when it comes to recruitment, its origins go surprisingly far, far back. It has evolved through centuries, aiding organizations in making informed and efficient decisions. So in its most rudimental form, these tests were used as far back as 2200 BC by the Chinese emperor to refine his army of warriors. More recently, if you look at it, the origin of psychometrics has been attributed to Sir Francis Galton, who's proposed that different people have different characteristics, making some more fit than others. He was inspired by his cousin Charles Darwin's famous work, The Origin of Species. So initially the term mental test was used, and this was coined by James Kettle in the year 1819. A more structured approach was given to these tests by a French psychologist, this Alfred Binet, through the intelligence or the IQ test in 1908. Since then, psychometric tests have only evolved further and have become an indispensable tool in the hiring decisions of the 21st century. So this was a little bit about the history and the evolution of psychometric testing. So although psychometric assessments have garnered great success, there are bound to be a few doubts about it. Now, recruiters all over the world are confused about the authenticity of these tests due to the vast ocean of information that's clashing and there's so much clutter, etc. online. So today, we're going to make it easier for you guys by busting some of the most common myths surrounding psychometric assessments. Here's a list of the most common misconceptions surrounding psychometrics, of course, and let's tackle them one by one, shall we? We have for you the myth number one: too expensive. Guys, it is a common myth that conducting psychometric tests can hold a burn in your company's wallet. Now, although it is true that conducting these tests do require an added investment, this is nullified by the excellent returns from the expense. Investing a little money to capture appropriate candidates is completely worth it. Furthermore, ongoing costs of psychometric assessments are extremely low and hidden costs are almost absent. Also, the very most important thing to note over here is that the cost of recruiting the wrong candidate is far more pricey than conducting a psychometric assessment. The myth number two is unreliable. Recruiters are, always questioning the credibility and the feasibility of psychometric assessments. However, these tests provide unbiased and hidden information about candidates that can really aid recruiters in their hiring endeavors. Most personality tests are outcome of detailed psychological theories, giving them a scientific backing. Intensive tools are being used today to ensure the removal of any kind of biases that may exist. The next myth we have here is that it's time consuming. Psychometric assessments can vary from a good few minutes to a few hours, actually, all depending on the candidate's capability. But actually, in the long run, a good hire can benefit a company massively. Nowadays, online psychometrics help in shortlisting candidates and evaluating the results at lightning speed, thereby saving a lot of time in the recruitment process. Most of these tests contain stimulus-based response questions, which the candidates can answer really quickly. By placing them above the interview round, recruiters can actually make speedy hiring decisions, even before having to, go through this whole tedious interview process with a candidate. Okay, so there are these chances of malpractices and cheating is easy, etc. So sometimes what candidates do is candidates may tailor their answer so that they may be portrayed as this perfect fit for a position. However, guys, online psychometric assessments are extremely well equipped with comprehensive tools to see through the answering pattern of candidates. Now, as we go on with the presentation, we will see at some of the best cheating prevention mechanisms that these tests have in place. Some of which also include relevant plagiarism tools that have been integrated to ensure that no malpractices do take place. Further, randomizing the questions aids this process and helps maintain this sort of strict check on cheating. The last myth that we're going to bust for you guys is that psychometric assessment leads to pigeonholing. Now, people are dynamic beings who are constantly growing, learning, and being shaped by the world around them. Psychometric tools aim to analyze specific aspects of a personality. The actual pigeonholing is done by the human interpretation of these test results. Many a times, recruiters can't really help but judge a candidate based on a subconscious bias. Recruiters are humans after all. Therefore, it only makes more sense to use psychometric assessments to prevent this sort of errors in decisions. Psychometric tests are comprehensive assessments that include mechanisms for elaborate analysis of various traits a person can possess. They can provide insightful information into hiring a personnel. So let's specifically dive a little deeper into psychometric assessments and recruiting in particular. So in this day and age, finding the perfect candidate to join your team should be dead easy, right? Right? I mean, after all, look at it. Job seekers are queuing up like never before. But honestly, tell me guys, it's actually getting harder to settle for a new hire today. It can take some corporations years to replace high-ranking officials, costing them a lot amount of time and money when you compare it to a smaller enterprise. And these guys can hardly even afford making such errors. So what does a business do for this? What many smart ones are actually doing is turning to science. Psychometric tests are questionnaires specifically designed to judge a worker's, based upon their perceived intelligence level, personality traits, and their ability to carry out very specific tasks. Psychometric testing is becoming increasingly popular human resource tool amongst the global top corporations. Tests come in all shapes and sizes, guys, and the most popular formats include tests like the Myers-Briggs indicator, etc. Psychometric tests cut through the boastful hogwash that most candidates just reel off in the interview room. These tests are simple to administer, it's cheaper, and it saves a ridiculous amount of time, both in the current and even in the long run. So we've been saying it helps, but how does psychometric tests aid in recruiting decisions? We're suggesting few reasons why a hiring manager should use psychometric assessments in their recruiting. Obtaining standardized information. Psychometric assessments provide standardized information, which means that candidates are assessed using the same criteria and are compared against reliable market standards. By comparing all the candidates with various standards and valid psychometric tools, a more complete profile of these candidates can be obtained here. Companies of all sizes can use psychometric testing. Psychometric assessments do not necessarily need to be reserved for large organizations looking to, specifically look for recruiting fresh graduates. SMEs can use this tool too as a part of their overall recruiting strategy. Psychometric assessment means that you are not solely relying on face-to-face interviews. Sometimes what happens is, as a recruiter, you know all too well that some candidates can be absolutely perfect for your job, but they just don't interview well. Psychometric assessments give you a benchmark where you can really compare results against other candidates who have applied and also previous candidates who might be thriving within your company for that matter. A psychometric testing saves employer time and money. Now, there can't be more straightforward here, guys. Recruiting a new staff can take up a lot of valuable time and can also prove to be costly. And this is all the more true if the best talent you're looking for isn't found straight away. And trust me, we know that it is not the case with most of the recruiters today. Psychometric assessments can save employers both time and money, and we've been repeating this for some time, and we're going to prove why. So if you work for or you own an organization where competition for jobs is high and hundreds or thousands of applicants apply for your roles, you will definitely appreciate effective filtering methods such as psychometric assessments. And as we go on with our presentation, we will come to why that is so. Psychometric assessments provide a true picture of a candidate. So what this does is it can give you a very clear picture of a candidate about how they work under pressure, for example, and how they work alone or how they perform as a part of a team. These are just some of the examples, guys. So the psychometric assessments provide true results which reveal how a candidate's behavior in a workplace would turn out. This means that you will also know not just about their abilities, but also about how well they're going to get along with the other employees in your organization. Basically, here we're trying to say that check and see whether how good a cultural fit they will be in your organization. Psychometric assessment is fair for your candidate as well as for you. Now guys, psychometric assessments, what it does, it offers a very standardized approach to recruitment, and it is fair for candidates because they all go through the exact same assessment process, hence a sort of eliminating any kind of bias in that way. If you have found this personality test really suits you and your organization, you might be able to make use of the candidate's newfound strength anywhere else in your organization as well. Psychometric assessments can be used at any stage of the application process. Now, an added advantage of psychometric assessments for employers is that they can be slotted in at any time during the application process. What some organizations do is they even run two lots of psychometric testing, just to sort of double check, one at the beginning and one at the end, just to compare the results and double check that they're employing the right candidate. This is actually a really clever way of doing that. What we have next is psychometric assessments is about measuring skills and ability and not just education that is sort of put up in a candidate's resume. Psychometric testing allows and proves that academic achievements are not going to give you a complete picture of who your candidate really is. On the other hand, these tests can also reveal to you if a candidate is overqualified for the role that they're applying for. Psychometric assessments can protect and develop the culture of your workplace. You need to know how well the candidate will fit in with your company's culture, which is like a crucial requirement, and we all agree. These assessments can help do this both with the personality tests and the other tests, because you will get an idea of what the person works and what motivates them. Psychometric assessments remove bias from the area of your recruitment strategy. They help eliminate any human-based bias that might sort of cloud the judgment of a recruiter while finding the right candidate. And most importantly, what it does is it encourages consistency in the recruitment. Last but not the least, what we have is the this advantage, and this not just provides consistency, it also provides standardization. And as we've already said before, every candidate is given the exact same test, and you can use this as a sort of a benchmark. So does it really work? Does psychometric testing really work? The elephant in the room, let's face this. So for all you recruiters listening to this webinar right now, we know what you really care about the most is whether do they actually work. Test reliability is how consistent a measure is of a particular element over a period of time and between different participants. Reliability essentially consists of 4 main different subtypes, and yes, psychometric guys fulfills all of them. The number 1 would be parallel forms reliability. Now this is measured when there are 2 different tests using the same content but with different equipments or procedures. What happens here is if the results gained from the assessments are still the same, then parallel form reliability has been satisfied. Internal consistency reliability. Now, this looks at the items within a test to assess the internal reliability between items. For example, a personality test may seem to have two or more questions that are asking the same thing. And if the participant, sort of consistently answers with some sort of similarity, then the internal consistency reliability is assumed correct. Inter-rater reliability. Now, this uses two individuals to mark or rate the scores of a psychometric test. If the scores or rating are comparable, then inter-rater reliability is test retest reliability. So this is the final subtype, and it's achieved by using the same test out at two different types and gaining the same kind of result each time. So if you're still not convinced, then what we have for you now is, specifically, uh, 80% of the Fortune 500 companies in the US, most of the companies are now integrating the use of psychometric analysis and assessments in their recruitment processes. And they're seeing extremely successful results as well. So, psychometrics is essentially the umbrella term. So now, guys, we're going to show you about the broad categorization of what psychometrics is. So as we've said, it's an umbrella term for all the assessments used by a company during a hiring. Let's break it down to really understand what are the components. What we have here is the aptitude or the ability test. Now, these tests are designed to measure an individual's performance and their intelligence. It can also be used to assess the current as well as the potential performance levels depending on the nature of the job. These are closely related to the IQ tests, and they usually involve candidates answering a series of multiple choice questions related to logic and reasoning. We have verbal tests, we have numerical reasoning, we have critical thinking, we have a lot of such tests that most of us are familiar with over here. What we have next is the personality and the occupational questionnaire. Now, these attempt to describe an individual by identifying personality traits or their personality types. Exactly as it's a personality test assesses your, personality. And by asking questions related to feelings and self-analysis, a personality test will aim to grasp an insight into how an individual behaves in different situations. Now, these are based around an underlying theory of characteristics that sort of make up a personality. What we have for you here is a couple of the top personality tests that are present in the market today. We will be discussing this in further detail as we move ahead. So stay put, guys. So let's look at what do they measure. So we're going to put it in very simple words for you to understand what do psychometrics measure. Number one is the ability and the aptitude tests are designed to measure an individual's performance or their intelligence. And they can also assess current as well as potential employees' performance level depending on the nature of the job. While setting aptitude tests, recruiters are looking to evaluate some, in very broadly, two types of intelligence. One would be your fluid intelligence, which is often thought of as your, the street smart type, and it relates to more abstract problem solving and, strategic thinking, etc. The next one would be the more crystallized intelligence. And this, on the other hand, denotes your ability to apply knowledge and experiences to completing tasks. Psychometric tests allows potential employers to make predictions about how an individual would react and respond across a range of variety of work-related activities. These measure dichotomies like sensing or intuition, feeling or thinking, introversion, extroversion, judging, etc. Some of the other things would be, a candidate's potential growth pattern, what are their motivators, what is their natural strength, etc. The personality tests measure traits of the candidates like achievement, assertiveness, the consciousness, competitiveness, self-confidence, extroversion and introversion again, etc. Recruiters, take note and be sure to incorporate them in your hiring efforts. What we have here is the Myers-Briggs indicator. This, this self-introspective test was created by a mother-daughter duo, Catherine Cook Briggs and Isabel Briggs Meyer, and it's based off the Carl Jung's classification of personalities. The test aims to classify the candidates according to four pairs of dichotomies. One is sensing and intuition, feeling or thinking, introversion and extroversion, judging or perceiving. This helps recruiters understand the way in which candidates perceive what's happening around them. The test results make recruiters aware of the candidate's shortcomings and their strengths. Over 70% of Fortune 500 companies use the Myers-Briggs test. This is by far the most popular one, guys. Now we have the Caliper profile. Used by over thousands of businesses worldwide, the Caliper profile is the psychological assessment quiz that's been structured by a talent management company, Caliper. With over 150 questions and over 2 gruesome hour writing time, the employers have a more comprehensive personality profile of the candidates in the hand. The profile is a scientific instrument which provides concrete results on a candidate's potential to grow his or her motivators and natural strength. Next, we have the employee's personality profile. The employee's personality profile, also called the EPP, is used for gauging a candidate's personality for any position on the basis of how well they interact with various elements of the workplace as well as their work style. The test is essentially inventory that measures 12 personality traits of the candidates, which are assertiveness, achievement, competitiveness, their consciousness, their self-confidence, extroversion, cooperativeness, stress tolerance, patience, openness, the list goes on and on. Next, we have the DISC assessment. This is a tool that is used to analyze behavior on the basis of a theory proposed by William Moulton Marston. This test identifies 4 different behavioral traits, namely dominance, inducement, submission, and compliance. Now, the results generated by this personality test, sorry for that. So what this does is this results generated by this personality test help to better understand the temperament and the interpersonal relations of the candidates. The DISC assessments provide outcomes which make hiring efforts more foolproof and beneficial in the long run. So guys, quickly, because of the small distraction, let's quickly briefly run through what what are the results from the DISC assessment? And with personalities ranging from warmth to sensitivity, the test consists of over 170 questions that gauge the candidate's potential in a professional setup. The test contains situational questions that examines candidates on their ability to make decisions at workplace. So now, since we've been doing a lot of talking, we have one last example of a test for you, which is called the toothpaste personality test. Seriously, guys, the toothpaste personality test. So here goes. Turns out we can tell what kind of a person you are on how you use your toothpaste. The first kind of the person is always the life of the party, taking the bull by its horns. The next one for you guys is the thrifty folks who like to, parcel some leftovers from the buffet to get the money's worth. We know they're all out there. No need to be shy about that. The next one represents those people who are headstrong and determined to make their point heard. Now, it's their way or the highway, guys. Lastly, if they really don't use the toothpaste, they're either extremely antisocial or they have no sense of oral hygiene. Either ways, they've got their priorities sorted. So, guys, stay away. Bad breath. So, coming back to this, what are online psychometric tests for that matter? So, guys, in this tech-savvy age, everything is just a click or a button or a touch away. Today, psychometric assessments have made it to the online realm with quicker results evaluation, foolproof cheating mechanisms, and an extremely exhaustive list of appropriate questions. Online psychometric tests offer a detailed analysis supported with graphs that will help quantify intangible human behavior. Reports that have taken organizations and psychologists over 5 decades of research, creation, and rigorous testing are now available for recruiter in a matter of seconds and minutes. These results are usually solid enough to predict when and why a candidate may or may not be agreeable for a certain position or a job. These assessments provide standardized information, and candidates are assessed using the same criteria and compared against international market standards. Online psychometric assessments predict a number of work-related processes and factors such as, the future job performance, their emotional intelligence, reliability and validity, their individual's development. It finds out what are their motivators and lots more. So how does psychometric assessments help cut costs and time for recruiters? Let's look at very concise and sharp 5 points here. What we have is that testing beats gut feel. Human instinct is a little better than rolling dice and having the stakeholders absorb the cost of a bad hire. Psychometric testing adds a level of standardization and objectivity to the traditional art of recruiting by helping remove unconscious personal bias that comes along with any selection decisions. The results are measurable. The fact that the results are measurable sort of makes the whole feedback session complete. Quantifying human behavior and its associated impacts on the bottom line is one of the most difficult challenges that any organization faces. With the coming age of big data, pre-employment assessments is one of the most simple and cost-effective ways you can, clearly quantify people-related ROI. Guys, you don't really need a psychology degree. Gone are the days of complex reports where a psychologist, was needed to interpret test-related results and etc. Psychometric tests providers are, slowly adopting a design-first, data-second principle. Beautifully designed, data-rich, and easy-to-read reports can now be instantly accessed online. It also, guys, what's important to note over here is that, if your organization sort of incorporates psychometric testing into their recruitment process, what this does, it creates a positive company brand. The use of standardized and objective selection processes can create a powerful first impression on your brand, guys. And this is especially more true for individuals from culturally and linguistically different backgrounds, as psychometric testing provides a level playing field where everyone's merit is equally judged. It helps shape your HR strategy. Now, quality data is essential to shaping a truly effective HR strategy. Remember this old saying where you say garbage in, garbage out. You need to be able to measure what actually does and doesn't work in any business initiative. HR relies on a number of different inputs to make decisions with companies worldwide. Psychometric tools are often important objective data points that can help, completely shape your HR strategy. So what we do here is we kind of understand that this is relatively a new concept, and most of us are very skeptical. But let's look at some of the case studies and some of the trendsetters in the market today who have adopted psychometric testing and have been seeing very positive results. First, we have Practo, and Practo is one of the leading healthcare technology startups. We all know of it, and the CEO and the co-founders have stated that they, as a team, believe in hiring people who kind of match the company's culture and are extremely passionate about their vision. And they do this by obviously, incorporating psychometric testing. Stockholding cooperation. HR manager from this organization explains that they use psychometry for competency mapping, conducting assessments, generating report, and the analytics of the same. So they find that the results that they get, as in the final report, is extremely well laid out, and they have got extremely insightful information about their participants. Procter and Gamble. So applicants for Procter and Gamble must be practiced for success with this psychometric assessment. Their tests used by the company are completely diverse from any that you might have seen or you might be familiar with. Their tests are primarily, divided into two parts: the competency test, also known as the PNG success driver assessment, and the PNG reasoning test. HP. So what the guys at HP have done is they have provided various dependencies based on the type of job functions that an applicant applies for. Their recruitment process also comprises of a telephone interview and other assessments, of course. But during the evaluation, the behavioral and the personality tests are verbally administered as well. JP Morgan. So JP Morgan, what they do is their tests involve applicants writing a series of aptitude and psychological tests, followed by numerous levels of gruesome interview. The format of these tests is reasoning in the form of technical, verbal, and numerical. Deloitte also has an effective and an accurate, efficient evaluation plan in place, and this they've done by incorporating psychometrics into their recruitment process. Ford Motor. So the famous car company uses the two-part psychometric test, namely a numerical type and one inductive reasoning type. So they have these questions are divided into 20 per session, and they have a lot of sort of reasoning and numerical based testing for their evaluation. So the Citigroup. This is one of America's best multinational investment banking and financial services, and they use numerical reasoning along with their psychometric tests. Numerical tests are known for their increase in the level of difficulty with succeeding questions and their logical reasoning, as well as a non-verbal and a pictorial test. The tests are only suitable for applicants who are into technology, operations, and HR job functions, and their questions are sort of tailor-made to fit their requirements. So, guys, what we do here now is that we understand that there has been an information overload, and we've discussed a lot of things today. But what we're doing now is to make things easy for you. We've come up with a quick summary to get you thinking and kickstart a very successful recruitment process from your end. So here goes. Psychometric tests provide employers with a deeper understanding of a candidate's personality skills that can usually be ascertained from a 45-minute to a 1 hour interview. Psychometric tests are doled out to candidates in groups. It saves a lot of time and money for the company. Psychometric tests can discover a potential employer's preferred work style, and to see if they have appropriate talent for your organization. Psychometric testing can be used to make employment decisions using an unbiased, regulated, and a scientific approach. Psychometric testing helps ensure that only the best candidates are selected for the interview, who not only have the skills and competencies to kind of do the job for you, but whose personality type fit in with the organization's culture and which sort of complement your culture in the organization. So that's it for now, guys. And we have a small request for everybody who's been attending the webinar, and this shouldn't take too much of your time. Please take a few minutes of your time for a very, very valuable feedback. We'll be getting in touch with you for the same shortly. Also, definitely do register with us for our further sessions. And any feedback or any suggestions for our next webinar title would be welcome. We hope that you found the webinar useful. Thanks a lot for participating, and feel free to contact CodeGround for any doubts on recruitment needs. Have a great day and happy recruiting. Thank you all.